Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Mike Haspil, and Wyatt Turk from Jacket Close Painting. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Hail and well met.
What's up, guys?
So Kenny has a story to tell us.
I have a story to tell you. I don't have any updates on that hobo that I told you guys about last year, the one that had the book that you can change places with. I actually was trying to hit up David today to get a follow-up on that because he's still on his route because he's still essential. I'm like, have you seen him? But David didn't pick his phone up today, so I got no story for you.
Beer is, I'm secretly worried because, you know, when the pandemics happened back in the 18s, the next thing to happen was prohibition, right? Oh, snap.
David said that's why he's essential. He's a beard truck driver. He's like, they're not doing that.
They ain't doing that again.
Yeah, here in Texas, they actually were just like, yeah, fuck the laws. We can get it delivered now.
Red tape coming down. Think about it like this, Rob.
Yeah.
To mine, I'm not a fucking expert on anything. I'm literally not. I promise you. But like, I'm obsessed with prohibition and stuff like that and like gangster stuff. Like basically them saying you can't drink caused organized crime in America. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, now that we look back at it,
that was like the first time that they were like, you can't do something even though it's your right. And we were like, killed people over it, like legitimately gunned fools down in the street, right?
What's interesting too is when you look into the people that voted that in, right? Voted that amendment and everything, they didn't know what it was going to do. So they were like, oh yeah, well, it's going to cut, hard liquor and all this stuff. But if I want a beer with lunch, that's fine. Or if I want a glass of wine. And then they were like, hey, wait a minute. We didn't read the fine print. Oops.
Yep.
Well,
so David said they're not doing that again. That's why he's still en route.
And also look into how the U.S. government actually poisoned booze to get people to stop drinking. That's
also one of the reasons why the FBI has the power that it does now.
Yep.
Well, anyways, long story short. So yeah, we got our booze. Yay. I also can't buy stickers because apparently Sticker Mule has reformulated to make all those stickers to put on the floor in front of all the checkouts. It's like, yeah, you got to stand 6 feet apart, which, it was great. But
one of these days too, Rob, you're going to need to tell us the story of how you were a pro-he back in the 20s.
You mean the 2020s?
The 1920s during Prohibition. Rob lived that shit. That's why he's not talking about it.
I really miss Depression era furniture. That really has a very nice look to it. You just can't get that these days. They just don't make that stuff anymore.
When Rob was just a young lizard person, pretending to be human.
It's been too cold for me lately. I don't like it. So we got a quick tabletop market watch. A few things going down. Obviously, there's going to be a GW preview this Saturday. I think it starts at 8:30 Eastern. So look for that. Not exactly sure what they're going to talk about. I have a secret conspiracy theory that some of us in our local Facebook group have been talking about. Something to do with that they're talking more about War of the Spider right now than they are Engine War, which is kind of curious. I mean, they showed us they did a few short stories, but they didn't really do any rules previews. And it feels like we've seen more for War of the Spider than Engine War. But remember, GW's fiscal year ends the end of May. So they are about to go out with a whimper. So I'm not GW and I don't know what's going on in the UK as far as like health issues and things. I know everything's kind of bad everywhere, but it'll be interesting to see when they're allowed to do so if they try to push a bunch of these expansions and things out the door. Like if they try to maybe push out War of the Spider and or Engine War back to back, maybe in early to late May. I'm not saying that will happen, but I'm saying that, at GW basically right now, their earnings are on pause and they will not make any more money for the rest of the year, except for online stuff until if they can't come back online by the end of May. So there might be a little pressure on them to kind of get some stuff out the door, but we'll see. Also, the there's a couple of Kickstarters that are coming out. There's one that's out right now for Heresy Labs. It's called the Hades Legion, which has got some really interesting kind of Space Marine-esque models, but also some kind of inspired by tanks that look pretty cool. You might want to check out. That's a pretty cool one. Also, the folks from Lost Kingdom put out a Kickstarter with some of their not Chaos Dwarfs and not Lizardmen and stuff, which looks really good too. If you're looking for something kind of different to play, you might want to check out Osprey's website because they have the Frostgrave rules for free. Well, they are for free, but you got to get a discount code to put in a shopping cart, and then you can get the free PDF download for them, which it's Frostgrave is kind of like Mordheim. If you enjoyed Mordheim back in the day, it's very similar to that. Now it has some magic and stuff in it too, which is kind of cool. So check those out. GameMat.eu put out a new series of highballs, and I think you can also buy the STL files for them too. But you're probably going to want a filament printer for that, not so much on the resin side of things. That's kind of the big stuff that I'm tracking as far as it's still if you need to get hobby supplies and stuff. Miniature Market's still a great place to get it. Dicehead.com still a great place, but supplies are kind of limited because they can't restock. All the distros still closed, so you might have to resort to Amazon, eBay. At some point we might see prices go up just on basic stuff, but right now it still seems to be holding pretty much level on anything but Gazgul and Ragnar and any of the box characters from the Kill Team boxes seem to be going for a premium.
Selling more than real oil.
It might be.
Multi-black weathering oil from Mr. Hobby. That shit's harder to get than a N95 mask.
I'm so glad I had some insider trading going on with Rob, so I have like 4 bottles of it now.
Yeah, they kept sending me stuff, and I was like, I'm not going to use this. And then I was like, what do I do with it? And then I realized that stuff was going for like $20 a bottle. I'm like, what?
Straight up ridiculous. You got an extra Ragnar?
Yeah, I probably got a Ragnar.
I might need to paint a Ragnar.
Let me know. Do you still need those webcams? I forgot to look.
If you can just hold on to them. I might need you to send them to me because they're price gouging webcams so hard right now. I know we had a few in the old Beats Lab, right?
Yes, I don't know where they are, but there's only 1 or 2 places they could be. So
yeah, because I've been getting students coming in who want to do painting classes and stuff, and it's like they can't.
Oh, because they don't have a webcam.
$300 to get a webcam that costs $70, or is ludicrous. Like,
I mean, it's everything now. Like, I was just looking at some tech with my buddy who wants to get a music quality microphone. Mm-hmm. And even those are being price gouged right now.
Dang.
And
because everyone's doing stuff from home and doing new things.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you wouldn't think that music grade recording equipment and even stuff that's arm stands for mics. And it's not even stuff you could put on your desk for video conferencing, but for music recording, all that stuff is getting price gouged.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. Did we want to talk about D&D?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Let's plug it this weekend, the 19th.
Mm-hmm.
We got to come up with the time right now.
Same startup time, 7 p.m. Central Time when we usually start the podcast.
Do you want to do podcast time for that?
Yeah, that makes sense because everybody kind of knows.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Works for me.
Yeah,
unless Rob has
that's 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, correct?
Can you do that, Rob, or is that too late for you?
I think that's right. Yeah, I can. How long are we doing it for? A couple hours, or?
Yeah, it'll probably be about
2-3 hours. That's
our standard length of time that we usually devote to this.
Yeah, it's a standalone, right? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 2-3 hours.
Could we maybe start at 7?
Do you want to start an hour earlier than normal?
4. Yeah.
Sure.
4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern.
No, so 6 p.m. Central Time.
Oh, Kenny, do you want to?
Nobody cares about that. Central Time.
Oh, yeah, that's made up time. That mountain.
Next thing you're telling me is mountain time.
Yeah, there's the
mountain
thing.
time is definitely made up.
Isn't it ludicrous that we literally have all those time zones in this podcast?
We're just representatives of America, man.
Yeah, America.
We're America.
This is
Right
America.
here.
The Long War is America.
We are Americas.
Got to get that Hulk Hogan theme song. You're a
Real
real
Yeah, so
American.
Some folks are asking because they don't know. So to quick recap. So we are going to do a D&D thing. We've got Wyatt's DM is going to run us through Rick and Morty. What is it called? The Rick something adventure.
Big Rick Energy.
Big Rick Energy, which is a standalone one-shot Dungeons and Dragons thing. We all have our different characters. In fact, I need to finish rolling up Crumbopolis Frank. So
Yeah, we're doing our one shot, our session 0 with Will tomorrow afternoon to make sure everybody's characters are ready to go, get all of our tech in place, all that good stuff.
Yep. It should be a good time. It should be fun. It will be fun, but you know,
It's going to be
you may
bananas.
or may not have a good time.
it'll be fun for us. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about contacting a mutual friend of ours, Kenny, to make some t-shirts to commemorate this event with the character art of our characters on it.
Oh, dope.
So I'll let you know.
Hell yeah.
Boy.
I got to roll my new character, Shadow Jacker.
Is that your new character?
I'm going to be a
Yeah, he's
sled
going to be a dragonborn.
100%.
Yeah. So I have 2 characters because one of mine's probably going to die. I'm playing the Seeker and Crumbopulous Frank. So he's like second cousin to Crumbopulous Michael. Same profession.
Same profession, same interests, loves killing.
Loves killing.
How about that?
Oh, God.
But oh my God. This is going to be so good. Yeah, I adapted. He's a Yuan T. I adapted the rules for that to make him.
You guys interested in a little hand bond?
I can bond.
But look, you know, this
How about a quick
episode
one?
of the podcast is going to be wily. If you're listening to this for the first time, this is actually going to be some edited shit from our live webcast. So if you've never been a part of our live webcast, you may hear some things you're not used to hearing on this
And
journey.
full disclaimer, I did not know he was going to do that. So I am not in my right mind. I take no responsibility for
Live and
anything I say.
unedited.
I just want you to understand the version of my Haspil you guys are about to hear is going to take you on a journey that destroys video game franchises, movie franchises, TV shows, and if anything,
TV shows from the late 80s.
I'm talking, there's
90s.
nothing like I'm talking original talkies to now. Like you don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And if anything is an indicator, the chat was asking, they're like, do you not have a rant page or like a rant website or something?
Yeah.
Haspil? I was like, he does not, but he should get one.
Yeah, well, I had one and I stepped away from it, but I think my last article that I did on there was Prometheus.
You didn't even cover Prometheus. Somebody in chat was like, get him on AVP. I was like, nope. I was like, that
That is a door you did not want to open.
is not
No.
where you want to go,
I
sir.
want to go there. All I will say about that before we go into our other thing is that I don't even know how many sequels to Alien we've gotten, right? Or Aliens, I should say, right? What's the coolest part of Aliens? It's the Colonial Marines,
Yeah.
and all their gear. That's the best part of Alien.
Close
another bug
predators
hunt,
and
man.
lasers.
Yet we've gotten how many sequels, how many movies came out after Aliens and not one about Colonial Marines? I'm like,
It's true.
Hollywood, you're just leaving money on the table. That's what people want to see. You could, I mean, how
Like
many
Starship
Starship
Troopers.
Troopers
Yeah.
movies
Yeah.
are there? There's like 4.
Yeah.
aren't
Enough.
No, I
is the
think there's
answer.
5 now.
We need more.
there? And there was a TV show, Roughnecks and everything. Just give us that with Colonial Marines, the occasional,
Yeah.
And those
xenomorph.
Mostly they're just shooting at
APCs.
one animatronic or one guy in a puppet suit once in a while. Like you can keep that going for 20 seasons.
Forever.
900 years.
Oh well. Lament another thing that shall not be.
We should all
I-
be hobbying.
Yeah.
So-
I can rest relaxed thinking that in some parallel universe there is there is a series where it's Colonial Marines, and we have 6 other Colonial Marines movies, and they're all fire.
That's actually the premise of Jet Li's The One. You remember that movie?
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
That's actually one, like the one. That's the universe he's from.
Probably. And there's like 8 seasons of Firefly.
You have to go deep. You have to go deep to infer that, but that's actually.
He ends up fighting everybody on the top of a pyramid, just like Aliens versus Predator movie.
It's literally linked. This is ironclad.
Yep.
Terrible.
100%.
So we're
Actually,
not going to go into all this Death Watch bullshit. Everyone's already been talking. There's literally nothing going on out there, guys. Like
There's nothing to talk about.
We just did
that's
a
why we
tactics-
talked about nerd shit the entire podcast.
me and Wyatt just did a tactics thing, and there was nothing to talk about. Like literally, all we did was talk about like staying active in the hobby, guys. Like right now, we're going deep. We're balls deep in this quarantine. You know, like there's no events where no one's playing. Half of the playing side of this is being with somebody, like socially connecting to somebody. Right? That's not on the table right now. So this is hobby time. It's time to paint. It's time to build. It's time to maybe pick up a new thing, whatever it is, you know. But like, it's really hard to get excited about a new set of rules and
Learn
talk
how
them
to 3D
up.
print.
Yeah, learn how to 3D. That's what I want to do. Like, but it's not even, in my opinion, worth being a normal 40K podcast during COVID-19. And
Fortunately, we have lots of other things to talk about, like cats and
Truth.
I mean, this rant. I mean, God, I hope these
I
people.
can't believe.
If you haven't been a part of like the live show, you're listening to this you're listening to this right now.
This is a taste.
This is a treat. This is a treat of what you're missing the hour before we record the podcast.
Yeah, you only listen to this. You don't hear this. You don't understand. The pregame show is like a rehearsal. It's usually where Haspil gets all of his big Rick energy out there, and then he shakes it off. He resets, and then he comes in with that smoky, it's my Haspil. You know, like he comes in hard. You're about to hear the hour it takes to get him to that state of mind. And it's unedited glory.
Oh, dear Lord. Oh, boy.
Now, I don't have anything to promote. I don't have anything to talk about. I will say this. Anybody out there who is a game manufacturer, miniatures, hobby, paint maker, whatever. This shit is crazy. I've been talking to a lot of our people we interact with, Rob, like our sponsors and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like straight up 50-50. Like, we're fucked. We're not fucked. We're fucked. We're not fucked. You know, there's a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up because I forgot to mention that. So I put out another email to everybody that was on our Adept account sale list and some newer folks and folks I forgot. And I literally got back. I think we have a post ready to go out with like 50 or 60 different companies, like if they're shipping, if they're not shipping, if they're having a sale, just basically the status of them. So look for that soon. And, if you're in a good place and you can pick up some hobby stuff from them, you might want to think about doing it because, like Kenny was saying, there's a lot of people on the fence right now, just as far as business goes. And it's not good. It's not good for the hobby. Because I think the variety is kind of what makes this hobby so great, and we start losing some of those one-man operations and stuff. It's going to be a lot more dull when it comes to our choice of miniatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the realness. But without further ado, we're going to roll into the meat and potatoes of this episode and enjoy this unplugged edition of the Longboard Podcast.
Wasn't there some famous guy painting this week? Yeah.
Yeah, there was.
I was streaming like all week. I know. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm a little Twitch famous.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What happened?
Yeah, but really, he's probably talking about Henry Cavill.
Oh,
I paint Warhammer miniatures.
Yep.
Hell
The
yeah,
last son of Krypton.
I mean, good for him.
Geralt of Rivia.
So I don't really know much about the guy. Is he a British person or is he an American?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
so
he's Brit. He's Brit.
Yeah.
Okay.
He actually, you know what I caught him on the first, like I knew about him and was like, I love this character when he was in the Tudors. You remember that fucking?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was what Henry V's or Henry VIII's friend.
Yeah, he was like his boy. He was like,
Yeah.
some royalty guy, and I was like, that dude's kind of a badass. Like, I always thought he was a badass in that show, you know?
He was also, if you want to go back, he's like fucking 14 or 15 in this movie, but it's one of my favorite movies. He is in The Count of Monte Cristo. He's the guy's
Yeah, I was just
son.
going to say that. Yeah, in 2002.
Oh, the one with Ewan McGregor?
Yep.
Wait, who is he in that?
No. He's the bad guy's son.
Mhm.
And the count.
Oh, that he makes love
saves
him? Yeah.
Yeah, he like gets into a fight in the catacombs and everything, and
Steals the dude's son, yeah.
Yeah. It was. I love that movie so much.
It's so, that movie's so much better. Like, it's so much more fun to watch than it has any right to be.
It really is, because it's not. It has that. I'm not detracting from stuff here, so it's going to sound weird, but it has that Kevin Costner kind of Robin Hood feel to it. Like, it's not entirely freaking authentic.
It's so not authentic. It's so unplausible.
Right.
It's so,
but it's still really good.
Yeah.
Have you seen, so speaking of Count of Monte Cristo, there's another actor in there who's like best buds with Ewan McGregor. And they have a two short docuseries. I think both are on Netflix, or maybe they might still be there. I can't remember, but it's them, and they decide to ride their cross country motorcycles across the planet. So they start in England and they go, it's called the long way round. So they go east from England all the way across Europe and Asia out to Siberia. And then they hop over the pond to Alaska and then drive all the way down through Canada and the northern United States to get to New York City. So they like circumnavigate within reason on their two motorcycles. And it's actually a really good docuseries. And then they had a
that sounds like fake news, bro. That's directly at odds with, or that's directly in line with a round Earth agenda. That doesn't seem possible.
Oh, okay. And then they have a second one called The Long Way Down, where they go from the tip of the northernmost part of the UK all the way down to the southernmost tip of Africa.
See, that makes sense because it's flat. Like,
Yeah.
Too easy. That.
But yeah, it's fun. It's a very like feel good kind of docuseries of two like best buds driving across the world, getting into adventures and sampling cultures and all that fun stuff.
Is it like the real life Supernatural plot? Like, are they running around fighting ghosts?
I've never seen Supernatural.
Battling crossroad demons.
What? You never seen Supernatural?
No.
Well,
don't
start because
went wrong.
You're gonna get
Hoping
super
that
mad.
the next leap will be the leap home.
That show I haven't seen. That's a really good one. I love Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap. I want them to remake that shit so badly.
What's that
Or
thing
just
you
a
did?
better ending.
You did something where you combined like the A-Team intro with the Quantum Leap intro, and it was the funniest shit ever.
Yeah, it was for you. I think it was for you.
Oh, it was. I was putting out like because when I did that gag where I paid IMDb Pro $20 to be able to put my picture on the website for like 30 days. I was like, all right, it says I need a bio. Go. I'm gonna pick one.
Yeah.
Go. Haspil's was that. It was so ludicrous. It was like you're not allowed to put that on there.
It was like half Quantum Leap, and then at the end, instead of saying hoping that the next leap will be the leap home, it was like, if you need help and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
I was like, that's it. I was like, in there, updated. She's like, that you can't have that. Make a mockery of my shit.
My favorite episode of Quantum Leap, I think it's a two-parter, and it's where he actually jumps into Al as a young naval officer who is accused of murder. Yeah. And Al has to like coach him through his own court martial, and like they do some detective work to figure everything out. That was a really good one.
Dude, my favorite part of that is when he like completely, he jacks part of it up, and then Al is gone, and it was like Roddy McDowell.
Because he fucked with the timeline.
Yeah, because he fucked up the timeline. I was like, holy shit, it's so good.
But the one that Rob talked about where he meets his older brother in Vietnam, and it's like it's like the week before his older brother is killed in Nam, and he can't do anything to stop it. Like, that was a real like tearjerker.
Yeah, but at the end,
really good.
At the end, you see Al, because Al has to bail out and gets captured, and you you see them like taking away a GI or something, and then like
well, you
Al,
don't know that it's him the entire time until like the last 5 minutes of the episode.
well, yeah, because he looks back and you see it's Al's face, and I'm like, oh shit, it's Al.
Yeah, he could have saved him.
You know,
and
it's
like,
crazy. The craziest premise of that show is that Al is literally a master practitioner of everything. Like the things he's able to coach Sam through.
Oh, well, that was because of Ziggy.
Yeah, Ziggy.
That's because of Ziggy, the AI. And I love there's like a headcanon that I have that the handling to Ziggy actually works fine. And it would work better if Al stopped hitting it. Because he keeps slapping it against his hand.
Yeah, it's very delicate technology. It's made out of like gummy bears and plastic wafers.
And so it would work great, except that Al keeps hitting it because he's like impatient.
No, I'm with Voodoo. Al is a certified ninja. Fuck Ziggy. Ziggy ain't shit.
Ziggy.
Oh, wow.
Like Al's a ninja. He's like, I'm a Golden Gloves boxer. I know how to fly jet planes and do dogfights. I also know everything about fucking every situation there is, and I'm not constantly referencing Ziggy. It's broken. I threw it in the trash. He's a certified ninja. Or he is Ziggy.
Yeah, maybe he is Ziggy.
Maybe he is
the
Ziggy.
AI.
Yeah, the other episode I really, really enjoyed was he goes back into he leapt in an earlier season into a guy who had Down syndrome. And this other episode, he leaps back into that same guy who has Down syndrome. And he's like, what happened? Like, we fixed it. And then this whole thing is like that guy's life is being ruined and the marriage is falling apart and he can't figure out why. And then he winds up touching the guy's wife and seeing who she really is. And she was another quantum leaper, but who worked for evil. She was going around messing up history. And I was like, oh, like it was on. It was like really.
Yo, did you see
Zenru or something?
Zenru posted, Al is AI. See? Capital A, capital L.
Oh, shit.
Shit. You just blew. Haspil's like, yep, this is my new thing. I'm gonna go crack out on this for like 3 days.
About a 20-year-old TV show.
Yeah, Donald Belisario just like breaking our heads. Al is AI.
What a great show.
Man. I don't know if it holds up, honestly. I really don't.
I don't know either.
Some parts of it do, some parts of it don't. Like in some ways it does hold up because they were very like forward thinking about the situations they were put in and like being, you know, like accepting and tolerant of different walks of life and stuff like that. Because like Scott Bakula's character, he's just like the greatest human being ever. He's like the nicest guy.
Yeah.
And he was a scientist, I guess, right?
Yeah. But then other parts of it don't. But I mean, I think it's still very watchable.
I know why it does hold up, that intro.
Mm-hmm.
That intro, I can listen. That's
like
timeless, son.
Yeah, that needs a.
I own every season except for season 1 digitally because I've seen season 1 like so many times.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I remember them all, but I have, what is it, like 2 through 7?
Yeah, the ending though, man, that was such a blow. I was at the Academy when they showed that ending, and I didn't even know what to say. I was like sitting because we had a communal
I was so mad.
squadron assembly room, and so we're all like watching it, and I'm like looking at my watch just constantly going, dude, there's like 10 minutes left. They're not going to be able to wrap this up. Like, what's going on? And then it was like, Sam Beckett never returned home. I was like, holy shit, I can't believe they just did that.
The rage, that uncontrolled rage that went through my body as you recanted that, like that I had thought I dealt with already, like was physical.
Part of the finale where he like goes back and he could just stay. Like he leaps back into himself and he's totally cool, but he decides to go back into the machine one last time.
Yep.
Kind of like in Sliders when he left home that one time, and that was the one day his mom fixed the gate.
Oh, yeah, savage, dude. That's savage. Why'd you have to bring that up?
Yeah, fuck that ending. I can't even right now.
You know, my favorite episodes of Sliders ever was the one where they went to the world where Christianity didn't exist. It was like this. It was like the year like 40 billion, like so advanced in technology.
Or another good one was where like humans were like Mexico expanding into like the West, and like the U.S. citizens were like, you know, like kind of on the plate a bit.
Oh yeah, they also did a Germany won World War II episode, which was classic.
It was like so crazy. Like it makes you think like how things are, how they would be so much different if just one little thing was different. It's like, oof.
That's right. Kenny causes me to rehash every rage-causing season ender. That's right.
Yep.
Dude, people thought, man, people got mad at Lost.
Want to talk about Lost? 5 years of my life.
No.
Do not even get me started about fucking Lost.
That was a weird dream. I'm going to go tell God. That's basically sums up the ending of Lost.
Dude, here's how angry I was at Lost. And it's because, and this factors directly into why I fucking hate J.J. Abrams and Carlton Cuse and Damon Lindelof and all those fucking hacks that destroy every franchise they're attached to.
Oof.
I defended fucking
Lost for like 3
right
seasons.
up until the end.
Yeah. You were on the
And
message boards, everything.
I was on the message boards. We had called that fucking ending of Purgatory like it's season 2.
And they came out and said it's not Purgatory. They literally came out.
Yeah, they came out onto the fucking boards and said it's not Purgatory. Don't follow that shit. So I'm like watching it going, man, what is this? And I was 100% sure. Think about this. Think how much money they would have made if you introduce that final 2-hour episode, the final 2-hour episode. You introduce it. You have J.J. Abrams come on. You know, he's sitting in a high back leather chair with a fireplace with a thing of Lagavulin. And he's like, hey, it's J.J. Abrams. Thank you so much for this journey, for following us on this storytelling journey of Lost. We understand some people are going to be disappointed by this ending because we only have 2 hours to tell you everything. We cannot wrap everything up in this ending. We understand that is disappointing. However, if you go to the bookstore tomorrow, there will be a giant coffee table book called Lost, The Answers, that has everything in it, right? That would be what responsible people would do. That would be the kind of people that figure out an ending to a fucking award-winning franchise, right? They would know, hey, we're making a trilogy. Let's have a goddamn plan. No,
yeah. Where's your show Bible? You should have had a show Bible that was like you could easily have adapted into the coffee table book.
You guys are pretty heated about this,
dude.
I'm really glad I never saw Lost.
Dude, this was the original Game of Thrones, dude. People be like, Lost Party in my house, like, dude. JP Gray coming out of his self-imposed
really
media,
dumb, so I just didn't watch it.
And it was just pure hackery. Bullshit, terrible fucking ending. When people talk about how I give season 8 Game of Thrones a pass, I'm like, season 8 of Game of Thrones showed me shit I'd never seen before, even though it sucked. I never saw
it sucked, but
I never saw a dogfight between dragons before.
That was fucking dope.
That was amazing. I never saw a dragon take out a medieval city the way it would really happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They showed that shit.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with season 8 of Lost. Could it have been better? Yeah. Is it? I mean, season 8 of Game of Thrones. It is not fucking Lost. Lost is a piece of shit. It was just like unbelievable.
Haspil, JP Gray echoing my sentiment. He hasn't commented for a while. He's been inspired. He's like, in Purgatory, you have a button to push that does fucking nothing. That single thing haunted my nightmare. Like, I was just like so mad about it.
Dude, it was one of my favorite television episodes of all time. Like in my top 10 TV episodes is an episode of Lost called The Constant. Where Desmond time travels. And I was just absolutely freaking blown away. But the fact that these guys, right? JJ, Lindelof, all these dudes, they have taken what they learned from Lost, which is you don't need to have a plan. And they carry it through every single thing they touch. Star Trek 2009, fuck it. We'll just wing it, right? Destroyed franchise. Star Trek has been devalued so much that Viacom and CBS right now are in financial straits. They are talking about selling off Star Trek, and people are like, nah, man, it'll be fine. Like, we don't want it. It's a piece of shit. And it's like, it was massive. Right? The merchandising rights alone of Star Trek, and we're talking next generation era, right? 20 years ago, could have bailed out CBS and Viacom like that. They can't even touch it now. right? Because of the 3 films that just tanked that damn franchise.
I mean, and you didn't even watch Picard, but I was like
I didn't watch
chatting with you as I was watching the finale about how fucking stupid it was.
I unsubscribed from the CBS app. I'm like, yeah, I'm done.
Picard was so fucking stupid. It was so bad.
Oh God.
Very sad.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
Yeah, Tim, I'm going to have to disagree with you on everything you just fucking wrote.
Did he just say they literally explained everything to
They do
Fallon?
not literally explain everything in the finale.
Not even a little bit.
If they do, tell me what the fucking smoke monster was. Tell me why they were inputting the goddamn.
What were those number
numbers in the
sequences
hat,
that kept showing up over
right?
and again?
They didn't explain jack shit.
Haspil
They didn't
told me
explain-
something.
What do they mean?
When this happened in real time, me and Haspil were friends. We've been friends for 16 fucking years. Haspil said something to me I've never forgotten. I was there the day. Do you ever like see something? You're like, that's the day this occurred. This like event. I'm watching this happen. I was there the day his brain rewired itself and decided that J.J. Abrams and Damien Lindelof were his mortal enemies. I witnessed this complex sequence of rewiring occur on his face and all these little micro
You watched
twitches.
him write his seal of oath and attach it to his armor.
I was there and he said, and I'll never
I was
forget
there
it.
when Horus slew the Emperor.
Yeah. He was like, well,
Both in a moment.
must be really easy to write a mystery show that you never have to tie up in the end.
Yep.
And I was like, I never forgot it. Like to this day, like you're right. That's all they fucking do. Write mysteries that they don't tie up.
Yep. I can.
Anyone could write a mystery story if you don't tie it up.
Anyone can write a mystery story with a dozen billion red herrings that follow people, and it's all convoluted. And we can talk about the fucking maze in Westworld. We can talk about all this other bullshit, but he does it every single fucking time. There's red matter. Oh, what does it do? Whatever the fuck we need it to do. There are no rules, nothing, right? It's like, well, what does this do? Well, the Force can do anything. Why? Well, because the dark side leads to abilities some people would consider unnatural. That gives me a carte blanche to fucking do whatever the fuck I want. No, it does not. And when you need to actually tell a story, you had better know how that shit ends before you set off spending Disney's $4 billion that Disney just had to take out a loan for $6 billion. If you'd done your fucking job, they wouldn't have had to do that. I'm going to calm down now. I'm starting to go real hard.
It's fine.
This is like
It was a
1%.
shit show.
This is 1% of that day.
I just watched Onward, which is the new Pixar film, and if you're a fan of D&D, you will absolutely love that movie. And Pixar, like they're generally like younger audience movies, but they're great for the family, as they like to say. But like Onward, I didn't really like know anything about it. I've seen some trailers and stuff, but it was definitely like one of those movies where it was like, didn't care if I missed it. Mm-hmm. And then I watched it because they brought it to Disney Plus, like way ahead of schedule. And it never went to like, you didn't have to wait for it to be like buy and then rent, and kind of like languish on those. Like they just brought it right to Disney Plus. And so I watched it. And it was really fun, really heartfelt. And if you're a fan of D&D, you'll love it because it is basically like a giant reference to like all this D&D stuff. And so like quick premise is that it takes place in like a fantasy world where they discovered electricity and that led to modern innovation. And so they were like, well, like, why do we need to do this magic that's really hard to learn and master when I can just like flip a switch and turn all the lights in my house on? And so like magic has like largely gone forgotten. And the story revolves around an older brother and a younger brother. And their dad died when they were very young, to the point they don't have very many, if any, memories. Like the younger brother has literally never met him. And when both of them are over 16, I think one is supposed to be 18 and the other one just turned 16. They get a gift from their dad that he left behind. Like when they're both over 16, like give them this thing. And it's a magic staff, like a wizard staff. And this like ancient relic of great power and a gem. And using the staff and the gem, they can cast a spell that'll let them spend 24 hours with their dad. It'll like bring him back to the mortal realm for one whole day. And they can like talk to him and catch up and like all this fun stuff. Right. And it doesn't go great. and then they have to go on an adventure to like fix the problem. And the older brother is kind of this like kind of a like happy-go-lucky loser who is a super nerd of this universe's like Dungeons and Dragons game, but it's all based on historical fact because it's a fantasy universe. So like back in the day, there were people that would go on quests to like get the treasure and slay dragons, and people could in fact do magic. And it was a really fun ride. So I highly recommend watching it.
Oh, sweet. But that's only
fun.
on Disney Plus, I assume. Right?
You can get it on Amazon Prime. I think you have to rent it if you have Amazon Prime, but it's definitely worth like the $5.99 because it was one of those movies that like came out right before all of the COVID stuff started happening. So it basically didn't get a chance to make any money because all of a sudden everybody was like, oh, we can't go to movie theaters. Right. And it is a good movie. Like it would have done well if this thing didn't happen. So like give it a watch. It's definitely worth your price of admission.
Yeah, Bomb just donated some money.
Yeah.
He's talking to Haspil.
Yeah, and I just,
Mass Effect. We don't mention that game.
Yeah, that game is not to be mentioned.
Oof, that's another.
Speak not of that game.
Y'all triggering Haspil.
I will tell you a story about Mass Effect. So my brother, I'm playing the ending, right? I'm at the last boss battle with the Commodore, and you're like in the Citadel on the top of it. My brother calls me, right? So I pause the game. I'm like, yeah, what's up? He goes, dude, I'm playing Mass Effect. I'm seeing a bunch of people are railing about the ending, and they say the ending sucks. And I'm like, they're high because I think I'm at the end. I'm taking care of business right now. I'm taking care of everything. It's fucking awesome. It's the best game I've ever played ever. I probably own more N7 gear than anybody I know. So I was just like, yeah, man, this is fantastic. He's like, I go, people are just being salty. It's the internet. Don't worry about it. I had to call him 10 minutes later and go, Terry, don't play the ending. Don't play the ending at all. Like, just stop. Just stop. When he starts going up the elevator after you defeat the boss there, don't play.
Yeah, just pretend that he saves the day and gets the girl.
He wins. The Reapers are stopped. Just stop. And my brother did what I did if somebody would have told me that and said, nah, man, I need to find out what happened. And he called me back like literally in tears. And I could hear Das Molly Feats playing in the background. And I am not joking. The other day, I'm like, I did this to him, and this is mean, right? But I was working from home. I have Spotify come on. Das Molly Feats came on. I felt that shit in my heart. It's been 8 years. 8 years. And I was like, oh my God. Like I had to stop working because it bothered me that much. So of course I ring up my brother and he's like, hey Mike, what's up? And I put it on speaker. I'm like, listen. And he's like, you son of a bitch. Oh man, it hurts so much. And then they put out Andromeda. I couldn't even bring myself to until Mass Effect 3. I would buy a BioWare game sight unseen. I'd be like, well, what's the premise of this game? Well, you're a unicorn and there's ponies. Oh, it's BioWare. Fucking bought it, right? Yeah. I wouldn't give a shit. I was like, it's going to be solid. It's going to be good. After Mass Effect 3, I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying this game until I hear like a million positive reviews.
I think the last BioWare game I played was Dragon Age Inquisition. Have they come out with like another one that was...
I don't know. I didn't play Dragon Age because
I tried Andromeda and I didn't finish it. I was just like straight up like I didn't care and I was bored for most of the game. But I like the Dragon Age series. Like I know some people didn't like the change between 1 and 2, but I liked all of them. I love Mass Effect. Like I don't know. Like
I'm doing a QFD about Mass Effect, and so this is like a sneak preview. And I'm trying to stay positive, right? Because that's not, if you want.
Do you want to have me on there so that I can be like super positive boy and you can just rip it to shreds?
No. I'm going to try to be positive because if you want people bitching about how bad Mass Effect sucks, there's a dozen billion videos about that, right?
That's true.
So I'm trying to stay positive about like what worked and how you could recapture that kind of thing. But one of the things that was just absolutely baffling is that before the end of Mass Effect 3, they were launching a Mass Effect anime. There were comic books. There were novels. There were tie-in novels of Mass Effect. All this stuff, they had created this massive universe that, granted, was based on a bunch of stolen sci-fi tropes from other better stories, but they had so's 40K. I mean, 40K is it's just a hijacking of all these tropes from other sci-fi stuff. So that's what Mass Effect had done to make their own universe. And then they are launching these animes. There was talk of a television show. Which is Babylon 5, but whatever. And they were sitting there doing all this stuff. And then you do this ending that not only destroys it destroyed everything. It was just like, and I don't mind like nihilistic, dark fucking endings to science fiction. Like, oh man, that sucks. Like they lost. The Reapers killed everybody. That would have been a really grim ending. But the ending we got was like very clearly whoever wrote that ending didn't play the game. They didn't know anything. They were like, oh, well, we'll just have every mass relay blow up.
Yeah.
You understand that?
Did they ever go into why that was the case? Like, did they run out of time? There was the whole thing. There was a lot of the lead writers. There's a video out there on YouTube called The Indoctrination Theory. It's about 2 hours long. Okay. And this guy makes a really, really good case for that was the original ending of the game. Oh, so he doesn't know.
He does know. Because he goes into the source code of the game and there's stuff in there they didn't use. And it's titled, he breaks it all down. I can't even begin to get into it. Just look up The Indoctrination Theory. It's about 2.5 hours long. And the crux of it would have been, and this is amazing, it would have been one of the best endings ever, right? Is that you would have had this ending that people were somewhat dissatisfied with. And then 6 months later, EA or BioWare would announce, oh, you thought that was the ending. Well, that was because you were indoctrinated. This is the real ending.
Okay, so that was their plan originally?
That was their plan. And it would have been a massive hit because everybody would have just been like, what? Think of this plot twist. Like everybody who deals with Reaper technology, everybody throughout the entire game becomes indoctrinated by the Reapers. That's literally what happened to the guy in Mass Effect 1. Everybody gets indoctrinated except Shepard. Shepard is somewhat immune to it, right? Except that he's talking about how the Rachni Queen talks about how they don't like the Reapers because they have these the dreams of oily water. Then they show Shepard's dreams and how everybody looks like they're made out of oily liquid. I was just like, oh, snap. Shepard's indoctrinated in Mass Effect 3. Mm-hmm. And so the ending would have made sense that he's just like, okay, I'm just going to go along with this. But he's doing the Reaper's bidding. So the next ending would have been the Joker and the whole crew of the Normandy has to go stop Shepard. Shepard's the bad guy. Okay. It would have been absolutely amazing. It would have been like the plot twist to end all plot twists. Just look up that video because I can't begin to do it justice. This guy has a lot of evidence.
That kind of makes sense because I knew there were issues with BioWare when that game was coming out because that's when sort of this trend of like shareholders strong arming publishers and developers to release at an earlier date based on like the best time of year to get the most amount of return on a property was. Just happened a number of times. I mean, like Bethesda is a great example of this. Mm-hmm. And so like that initially when I played it, like that's kind of what struck me as what happened. Cause I was like, man, this feels like they had to, like they got an order from on high and they were like, you got to wrap it up. Like, we don't care because we're the suits and we talk for the shareholders and like, we don't give a fuck what your big plans are. We need this game to be on the shelves by like this date so that we can make X return for our shareholders. And like, that's the end of it. You guys don't get a say. That's happened a number of times. And then they went back, like, what was it? Like maybe 3 months later?
3 months. Yeah. And they released what I call the PowerPoint ending.
Yeah, they released like what they said was like the Band-Aid, like, oh, we fixed it, we fleshed these out to make it. I mean, it was still basically the same shit. Like,
Yeah, it was just terrible. It was
you get red light, green light, or blue light. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It just hurts me so much. But what you're bringing up hurts a lot of stuff because they're looking at quarterly bottom line instead of, well, let's just lay it on the line, right? Disney Star Wars, the new trilogy, right? They could have had something. I mean, the old trilogy, and I'm not talking about the prequels, but the old trilogy, how many times have people seen that? Right now, granted, it's a bit unfair to go compare A New Hope to say, the Rise of Skywalker, but the Rise of Skywalker is already forgotten. I never saw it, but it's already forgotten. No one's talking about it. It's done. Right. And it's like, why? Because they rushed it. They were just like, hey, we said we're putting it out, so we have to put it out. Right. And it's like, well, okay, I understand you got Rian Johnson handed you a big sack of shit that you have to undo, right? To tell the story you were originally wanting to tell. But maybe you should have sat Rian Johnson down before he started filming and said, this is the plan. This is what we're going to do with these characters so that he doesn't go and just go off. But Rian Johnson started writing his stupid movie before The Force Awakens was finished filming. How do you do that? It's completely stupid, right? So then when JJ tries to make The Rise of Skywalker, and everybody I know who's seen it, I haven't seen it, so I'm just going by what people say, complains about the pacing, right? And it's like, well, it should have been
of the second one or Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker. They complain about the pacing, that there was like too much in that movie.
I didn't think the pacing was that bad in Rise of Skywalker. I think there was a definite pacing problem in the second movie. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people are just like, oh, I hate the Canto Bight scene for X and X and X. And like, I really don't dislike what happened there, like what they depict, but I dislike the way that they did it because it does really derail the pacing of the movie. Like, if anything, I think they should have started the movie with that scene and then tied those events back into the finale of the movie. Like, if they let's say like they knew that Snoke had this massive new fucking ship, right? And it could track ships through hyperspace. Like, that was their new thing, this massive fucking dreadnought class ship. So we got to find a way that if we run into it, we got to find a way to disable it, which means we got to hack their shields and destroy, stop that device that tracks us through hyperspace, because they need to be able to jump away to fight another day, right? And then they start the movie with sort of this like Vegas heist movie type feel on Canto Bight. And they're like, cool, we got the hacker, blah, de blah. And then like the other stuff in the movie happens. And then it's like, all right, it's time to do the thing. They're on us. Like, we got to do this. And then he betrays them because he's been hanging around with these losers this entire time. And like, nobody's telling him what the plan is. And he thinks he's going to die on this fleet because purple hair lady won't talk to anybody. Then it makes a lot more sense why all of that stuff happens. But like the way that they sliced it into the movie where it's like, okay, they're actively shooting at our fleet, trying to run away. They can track us through hyperspace. We're going to hyperspace jump away to this other planet to find some guy that, what's her name? Maz, or was that her name? I forget the little
Maz Kanata.
Yeah, Maz. So Maz knows this guy. And they didn't even know that she knew this guy before they were already going off on the plan. So that part doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So I think a little bit of just change in order of events would have made it work a lot better. But in The Rise of Skywalker, it's pretty steady throughout. I wouldn't call any of the stuff slow or awkwardly paced.
No, I just heard that there was just too much jammed into one. And again, I have not seen either The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker, so I'm going off secondhand stuff. But I heard that there was just too much jammed in here, which ties into what I was going to say, which is instead of releasing it when they did and just pushing to hit that release date because they had to hit their bottom line.
Yeah.
if they were looking at the long term, they could go, you know what? We have a challenge here with the Rise of Skywalker, because there were like something filmed like 12 different endings or something crazy. Why not just pump the brakes a bit and just be like, hey, we're delaying this thing. Like, it's going to come out in 6 months, but when it comes out, it will be amazing. Like, wouldn't you rather have that than something that's not? That's just like another perfect example. Game of Thrones season 8, right? Hey, you can have 20 episodes to do what the hell you want. HBO would have given them whatever they asked for. Now we're going to do it in 6. Are you sure you can do it in 20?
Because like, wasn't their whole thing that like, oh, we got shit to do. So like,
yeah, we have shit to do. We're going to do it in 6. So you get undeveloped characters. You get a bunch of changes that don't make sense. You get basically people teleporting across all of Westeros. you get all kinds of, you get people that don't know how horizons work, right?
Yeah.
It just turns into nonsense. And it's like, why did you rush that? You took what could have been the greatest fantasy series of all time. It was the highest rated television show of its kind forever. And you blew it. And now they had
I guess it has to, what I've heard is like people who read the books really disliked the ending, and people who like weren't invested in the books like thought it was fine.
Well, the books never even get that far. So it's, George
I'm
is
just
not
saying, like,
absent of guilt.
when you see people like my like sample size of people, right, that I watched Game of Thrones over the past like almost 10 years. All of the people I know that read the books before the show came out and were like super invested in the books didn't like season 8. And then the people who have not read the books and like the show for the show thought season 8 was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And so like, I feel like there is some bias in how you feel about not you personally, but how you feel about season 8, because like you are emotionally connected to the book series. And even though it's not a 1-to-1 adaptation of the books, it was very, very loyal to the books for most of its run. And then what they say is like, when they ran out of books, they didn't know how to write stuff. And so season 8 is bad. But there's always this kernel of like, they really just want to say that like it didn't end the way they wanted it to, and so it's bad. And I don't want to say that everybody thinks that way, like blanket statement, but like everyone that I have discussed season 8 with in depth, who has read the books, they didn't like season 8, and that was why.
Yeah, but there is a lot of stuff in season 8 that makes no sense. And the only one that I will give a pass to is the Dothraki charging into the dark at something they can't see and getting massacred. And the only reason I give them a pass on that is because you know how much horses cost on set.
Yeah,
I would have been a producer. Also, how many horses do we have? These dudes have to die like right away. We can't afford this.
I don't know. Like, I guess.
Well, take for instance.
I didn't really think of it as it was happening. So I mean, like they're the Dothraki. So like, I think part of it too was like, what are you going to do with them?
Right. But
and also they don't know the numbers of the enemy, and they have the flaming swords. And
yeah, but who would lead a cavalry charge at something you can't see? Nobody in the right. Nobody ever. But here's a perfect example. And I know Kenny's he's kind of been ostracized in this conversation. I'm sorry, dude.
I've read every book in the Game of Thrones series.
I'll bring you back in, but I know this is a simple,
I don't know. Let's see. I want to, there was some other stuff in the chats. People were why didn't they just hyperspace jump people out of the fleet? And it's like, cause you could track them. I mean, that's established in the movie. Yeah. And I don't think the shuttles they were using, those are like fleet to surface ground transport
these aren't
ships.
Federation class shuttles that have warp reactors in them.
Right. So I don't even think those could. I think the only things they had that could do that were long range fighter bombers like the X-Wing and the Y-Wing. And also they can track you through hyperspace. So that like negates the entire thing. So like within the rules of the universe as we have been shown, like that doesn't make any sense. And then I've seen some other people talk about hyperspace kamikazes and how it moves canon. Here's the thing. I don't care. Like they said that the EU is not canon anymore, so it's not canon. Like everything they show in the movies is canon, and even like going all the way back into the history of the EU, like a lot of those books were never considered canon because like only what you see in the movies is like canon, quote unquote. Like the EU can be very loyal to the movies world and the canon and all that sort of stuff, but it was still like independent contracted writers given a set of guidelines. And you see this all of the time, even in the 40, like the Black Library books, there is like constantly stuff, even in brand new books, where authors like take liberties with the universe and like flex and sometimes even break it in the name of like creativity. So even though they're like, okay, these are some things you can do, can't really do this, you know, like that. That's why, like, personally, I love the Black Library novels and stuff. But even then, I don't personally see those as like ironclad canon. Like only the things that happen in like rules publications are what I see as like undeniable canon. And
even then, they're not canon. Like even then, like I'll bring up Matt Ward, like Grey Knight's, the 5th edition Codex, right? There's stuff in that book that I'm like, I'm positive it's not canon, and people take offense to it. Like notably, Drago carving his name in like Mortarian's heart or something.
They still talk about. I mean, that's still in his, lore.
Or the Grey Knights, slaughtering sisters to paint their armor with blood. Does that sound like chaos? That sounds like chaos, right?
Like
that doesn't sound like Grey Knights. But
or you could take Kenny's. I like Kenny's take on it. Is that like every codex is written as imperial propaganda and is not to be believed?
Yeah. And that's the way I look at it. Is you've come off your 18-hour shift at the Manufactorum, you're tired, you go to a bar to sip some low grade Amasec that somebody made by, I don't know, using engine oil or some nonsense, but it'll get you drunk, and you're sitting there and somebody goes, dude, have you heard about the Grey Knights? And they're like, what about the Grey Knights? And you're like, oh, there's a group out there called the Grey Knights, and they are the shit, and anybody who knows about them gets fucking killed. That's how secret they are. Well, then how come you know about them? Oh,
because I'm cool.
Because I'm cool.
You know, I heard from a guy who heard from a guy.
Exactly. It's the same thing that goes on.
My cousins are great.
People like sit there and go, dude, have you heard about fucking DevGru? SEAL Team 6? They are the fucking shit.
Fucking Delta.
Yeah, you don't know jack shit, dude. You literally don't know. You're talking like over a fucking bar. That's it.
Canon shifts over time. Like if you look at EU books that were written in like the late 70s, early 80s, and then to like the late 80s, early 90s, and then to the late 90s, early 2000, like stuff changes. Yeah. And you see it too in 40K. Like look at the differences in like quote unquote canon between the Eisenhorn omnibus that came out in the early 90s and now. Like Eisenhorn straight up has a lightsaber.
Pretty much, yeah.
And like in no other media in 40K has that ever been mentioned. But he has a lightsaber.
Has he always done that? Nope, that's the first time.
Yeah,
My beef with stuff like that though is when it doesn't make sense and you can solve it with not minimal thinking. Like you don't have to change anything. Why can't these guys go into light speed? Oh, it's not that they'll just trace them, right? That's an answer. But because they have an interdictor cruiser. That's why. Yeah, that's why.
I mean, it's like you have to apply. What's this? Like, what is it? Like Occam's razor. Like, usually the most simplistic answer is what it means. So it's like if they don't jump away the shuttles, it probably means they don't have the ability to hyperspace. And it's like, why don't people do it all the time? Well, probably the easiest answer is starships are incredibly fucking expensive, and as we have seen in the new series, like that fleet. That's all there is. There is no other like resistance. Right. Like in the time that we saw Luke and Leia and Han in their prime fighting the Empire, like the rebellion was like a galaxy spanning organization with cells everywhere and multiple ships and multiple fleets. Right. Now in the fight against the First Order, like that's all there is. Like they have the fleet, and that's why they constantly have to move from place to place and pick up shop whenever they get found out, because if that fleet dies, they have nothing.
Yeah, but you can. There's big problems in character motivation and stuff too, right? So because I haven't seen The Last Jedi or that, I'm not going to talk about those. I'm going to talk about a thing that the fans, this is fan service, but it was done in the worst way. It's season 8 of Game of Thrones, right? So everybody wants to see the mountain, right? Fight Clegane. Everybody wants to see that. They were calling it Clegane Bowl.
Oh my God, Clegane Bowl,
right?
Sound the horns.
Yeah, that's the hype, right? So he goes up there and he goes, hey, he turns to Arya and says, hey, if you come with me, you're going to die. Turn away. So she turns away. And then he goes up there, ostensibly going to his death because he knows he has to fight the mountain. We get that hilarious face off where Cersei's just like, I'm just going to walk through here. Don't
Oh
pay
my
attention.
God, that was amazing.
It was amazing. They have a really great fight. And then that's it. And it's like, well, okay, that's a good fight. It
I mean, like, what did
great.
you expect him to go Super Saiyan and start flying through the air? Like, no, they're two dudes in armor with giant swords.
No,
like, let him
but
fight.
I want character motivation beyond I have to fight my brother, right?
Oh, he hates him to his
Yeah,
core.
but that doesn't. Here's the mountain not the mountain. Sandor had changed by that point. He had actually seen. He had seen things from R'hllor in the fire. He had changed. He was a different man. He was helping build a sept. He was not the same hound that we had seen before. At the end, when he fights the mountain, he's the same hound. They just undid all this character motivation. Here's an easy fix. And this is what I'm talking about, how you don't have to change what happened. You just have to change what was the motivation. And it takes you a minute, right? So what's going on when he's going into the thing? Outside, the Unsullied and Daenerys are trashing the city. Right? Why? Because Cersei won't surrender. So the hound turns to Arya and says, hey, if you come with me, you're going to die. Get out of here. She goes, okay, what are you going to do? Instead of saying, I'm going to go fight my brother, he says, I'm going to go ring the bells. Because Cersei won't surrender, but if he can make it to the bell tower and ring the damn bells, right, then Daenerys and the Unsullied will think the city has surrendered. They will stop killing everybody. So now Sandor is doing something selfless, right? He's now a hero. He is now, I'm going to go ring the bells. So he starts heading to the bell tower. Who's in his way? The mountain. Oh, shit. Now we have a fight where there are real fucking stakes. Other people's lives are at stake. He gives it his all. He beats the mountain. He's mortally wounded. With his dying act, he grabs the rope and rings the bells. That's how he dies. 8 million times better.
Oh my!
Literally,
I'm not gonna lie.
30 seconds.
You're right.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I still enjoyed the fight. I thought it was cool.
Oh, the fight would be the same.
It's almost like my fan theory. Like, I thought the only thing that could have made the hyperspace kamikaze cooler is if
nothing could have made it cooler.
Shut your mouth, Rob.
Nothing.
Stop being so toxic and let me have my fun nerd shit. I think so. One of the things that actually did kind of upset me about the second movie is that Admiral Akbar dies off screen and there's barely any lip service paid to it. So here's my fix. Here's my fan fix to the hyperspace kamikaze that would have made it really cool. Is Holdo does not exist, regardless of how you feel about it. I don't care. If she doesn't exist, this leaves room for Admiral Akbar. So he's the admiral. He's second in command once General Leia goes down. Cool. Then same situation. It's the last ship, last man standing. He gets all of his troops off. They go to the secret base. He turns the ship around and same exact thing. Like the First Order people, they're kind of dumb, so they don't really know what's going on. They're like, what is he doing? He's like, they're charting a hyperspace course right through us. And then as soon as that happens, he like slams it forward into hyperspace and he goes, it's a trap. And then he like, boom, takes out all the ships. It's so cool. Like, it chills
and that's
just thinking about it.
Better. And then you even have somebody ask, hey, Admiral, why are you? And he's like, evacuate the whole ship. Everyone get the hell out of here. And they're like, what are you going to do? And as he's coding things on, he does kind of a Kirk like, you know, you learn how things work on a starship. I'm disabling all these controls that keep people from doing this, which is why I can't use a droid or the autopilot.
Because he's a wily old admiral also he's a Mon Calamari, and he helped his Calamari ships. Yeah, exactly.
All that starts to make sense.
And then you have that amazing
he knows about
okay. So in those,
he has this little.
In those
awesome moment and goes out like a boss, and it's a callback to where he's like, "It's a trap," which is the most memed thing about Star Wars ever. People would have lost their minds.
Yeah,
it would have been so cool.
100% in that context, that tactic, and that would be acceptable to, I think, some of the hardcore Star Wars fans. But the way it went down with that chick from Jurassic Park, like none of that shit made sense, even when it was supposed to make sense.
I know some people have a problem with it. I pretty much don't. But the way that I chose to rationalize it is she is an admiral, and you don't have to explain yourself when you are in a military chain of command. Now, like sometimes you do. I think me and Mike have talked about this before. But Poe is in the doghouse. He's in trouble for being a hotshot and going against the plan and fucking things up. That's why he is in trouble. So
but he didn't know the plan.
No, but he did when he got in trouble. Like the plan was to get away from the dreadnought, and he was like, "No, I'm just gonna like go in with the bombers." And he like turned off the comm and directly went against orders from General Leia. So that's why he's in trouble. He's a hotshot. He needs to learn patience and to see the bigger picture. That's part of his character arc in the movie. They established this, and so like when he meets Admiral Holdo. All she knows about Poe is his record of being a hotshot and being a loose cannon and going against orders at the worst time, and people die because of it. So why should she have to explain herself to basically somebody who just got like stripped of their rank and is like one bad sentence away from being thrown in the brig because he's in trouble? Like if I was a fighter pilot in a fleet and I just did something that got a ton of my wingmates killed and actively went against orders from the admiral, not only would I be in trouble and probably get demoted, I would also be court-martialed for criminal offenses and conduct unbecoming. So like, why the fuck would the admiral tell me, who's not even in control of fleet maneuvers, the big plan?
No,
it's not his job.
I'm going to ask a question here. I'm not being a wise ass. I literally don't know. Didn't Poe blow up the first Death Star?
No,
TFA.
What in the new?
You mean
movie?
The planet?
The planet killer
killing device?
Star Killer base or whatever?
Yeah.
It wasn't like solely due to him, like with Luke. Like a huge attack wing of X-Wings went in there and they just like fucked everything up.
Okay.
So it wasn't the same thing as when Luke was like, "Oh, we have this like perfectly engineered MacGuffin to shoot torpedoes down." Like, no, like they went in there, they disabled the shields, and they just did like attack run after attack run until it got destroyed.
Ishmael's trying to drive us back to 40K. He's like, he heard a rumor about heretic custodes. I'm like,
custodians.
Wrong. Never.
There was a picture of from the War of the Spider stuff of like Fabulous Bill about to do some naughty things to a presumably dead custodian on the ground.
Ooh.
I'm gonna pretend that he was about to dip his balls in his mouth. That seems like a Fabulous Bill thing to do.
Teabagging him.
Yeah, that's awesome. He wasn't trying to get that gene seed. He was just like desecrating the corpse.
I mean, you can do both.
Yeah,
like
it's true.
Well, it's not either or.
Haspil, take us out of here.
My name is a killing word. They are ready to fight. Yet to lead them, I must conquer the worm. I must conquer Shai Hulud.